Over the past couple years, I have poured well over into modifications for my car. From cosmetic to technological to moving my car into the modern age. Well, I'm about to roll over 100,000 miles, and I'm also about to drive to Spokane, roughly 1,500 miles. Let's take a look at what I've modified, how it affects everything, and cover whether or not I think it was a worthwhile upgrade. Let's get into the video. So basically I've done quite a few things to the car. Cosmetic, functional, all the things. So let's just start, and we're gonna do this chronologically with how I upgraded the car. So first of all was the fog lights. Because originally, here's some winter footage, if I can remember. The car was full halogen on the front end. It was functional. The fog lights were producing most of the light that was being thrown onto the road, so I decided to upgrade those first. We're gonna keep a tally over here of how much I spent. So, fog lights. Best thing I ever put on that car. It was phenomenal. It was relatively cheap, all things considered, considering the next things I'm about to put on the list. And my life was made. I was bitten by the bug of lights. I was bitten by the bug of modifying the car. That was like the best thing ever. Diode Dynamic was the company. Best thing ever. Then came the reverse lights. So popped those in. I didn't bother to record footage. It's bright reverse lights. Like, okay. So there's that price, how much that was. Those were great. It made backing up in the night a lot better because they were, what were they? They were pretty dim, whatever they were. So that's that. Next, I'd been sitting for a while and I was like, okay, what are we gonna do next? Well, what I was hoping to do next wasn't what came next because I got a flat tire. And I had been running the original tires that came from the factory on that car until this point. So we were probably 50,000 miles in on these tires. So it was time. So slapped some Ultramarains on. They look good. I haven't gotten a chance to use them much except here in Minnesota in the winter. But that was the next mod. So throw that there. The next one was where I was like, okay, we're going to save for a bit. We're going to figure this out and we're just going to bite the bullet. I had been looking at retrofit headlight options for upgrading my actual headlights to the limited trim of my car for a while. There was a couple companies who did it, varying levels of success, varying levels of good reviews. And then I stumbled across this small company in Idaho, which now no longer exists. But it was a college guy, from my understanding, who was retrofitting these headlights in his basement in his free time, basically. So I reached out, ordered them, and got upgraded lenses to make the lights even brighter and have an even better stage presence, if you will, of lighting. So that was that price. Yeah, they were expensive, but here's some videos of before and after, and oh boy, that was a big difference. 100% worth it. So that was kind of the end of the modifications I did while I was in college. After college ended, I moved out here and started getting situated, and then I would realize that I was going to be driving a lot. So I drive 40-50 miles a day on the highway, which is pretty boring, and I was like, okay, what can we do? So I knew this company, Comma AI, existed. They had been doing kind of a retrofit Tesla autopilot system for a while, and they actually had point-to-point navigation going on for a bit that they then revoked when the product became more popular. We're hoping it comes back. We'll see. If it doesn't, it's not that big of a deal. So I've been looking, and their system's really expensive. But, earlier this year, the Comma 4 came out. I think it was technically last year, but it became more widely known. I realized it existed, and I started doing some digging, checked compatibility, and hit order. So that was that. Yeah, okay. That was more than I wanted to spend, and that was one of those items that it's amazing. I really like it. It's really cool to see what it can do, especially as we look forward to it probably advancing. But from what I'm getting from it right now, there's a lot cheaper ways to get the functionality I get. That's just the truth of it. I do not get $1,000 worth of functionality out of it. It's kind of sad. I was really hoping it was going to be a little more advanced when I got it, but I didn't realize until after I purchased it, which is my own fault, obviously, that they had rolled back a vast majority of those features when the Comma 4 came out. So we'll see what happens. As you saw, I don't run Comma OpenPilot. I run a fork called SunnyPilot, which allows me to have stop and go
down all the way to 0 miles an hour, and then it will hold the brakes. So like full stop and go. And then as you also saw in the video, it can turn left, it can turn right if the turn is broad enough. And if I initiate the turn before I'm going 0 miles an hour, because it kind of needs to keep that momentum to keep the torque on the steering wheel. A lot of those limitations are strictly because of the car I drive. Subaru has very, very strict torque tolerances, basically how far the motor is allowed to let the steering wheel turn before it turns off. Some other cars, Kia, Toyota, whatever, really any car that can self-park will be able to do a lot more, because self-park, the wheel has to spin and spin and spin. So any car that can self-park is going to have a vastly better line of success with the comma system rather than something like me that just has adaptive cruise, which is called ADAS, by the way. That's the acronym. So I got that, we'll see what happens. Then for a while I've been running a couple different wireless CarPlay adapters, a quick $20 one off Amazon, which honestly worked really well. And then I was kind of wishing the audio was a little better, so I bought what everyone buys apparently, $90. It was supposed to be really good, had other things for road trips. Don't stare at a screen while you're driving, that's really stupid. That's your PSA for the day, just so I'm legally covered. So I got that, and it worked, but since my car is USB 2, it couldn't really push that amount of data and that high bitrate audio to the stereo, and it was a nightmare. I ended up going back to the old one actually, and I'm going to see if I can give this one to a friend or family who has CarPlay in their car but wants to get it a little bit better. So that's what happened, and then I was like, okay, well, what if we just upgrade the infotainment? So my dad had upgraded his car's infotainment on his truck, so I was very familiar with how it worked, and I knew it wasn't really that bad. Usually an afternoon project. Some of the nuanced details might take longer, but getting the actual system up and running would be an afternoon. And yeah, it was. So I was like, okay, what can we find? And yes, you could get the little Sony boxes, but because my car's infotainment originally, here's an image, here is a really weird shape. I knew if I was going to want something that looked plug and play and looked like from the factory, I would have to spend a little more and get something that might not be technically as high quality. So I went with iDoing. I knew the reviews were decent, I knew it was a decent product, and I figured, for that price, it was worth it overall. So that was that. And really the 360 cam that you saw in the video came with it. And technically, I'm actually a little bit ahead of myself. Before the comma, before the iDoing display was that digital mirror. I got that for Christmas from some family members, and through that day and Christmas Day, it's been amazing ever since. I've moved the camera in the trunk around quite a few times to make it more and more permanent. It's now actually screwed into the trunk and it works very well. Downside, since it's going through a very heavily tinted rear window, because I had the factory privacy tint and then I threw another 15 on top, so it's down to 5. It's dark. The trunk. And so it struggles at night, but during the day and from basically sunrise to sunset, it's fine. I don't do that much driving in the pitch dark. And even then, it does fine. And basically everything I've done, how my side mirrors are positioned with the digital rear view mirror and with my blind spot cameras, I have no blind spots. So the goal has always been to have everything angled to the point where I don't have blind spots. The minute I lose my side mirror, I can either still see it in my rear view digital or some other camera, so that I always can see what's 360 degrees around me without having to move at all. I can always see everything. It's great. And then that digital mirror has a front camera down on the front bumper so I can see how close to a wall I am. Then also has a camera directly on the back, which is the dash cam, which kind of gets a full 180 out my windshield, which has a really interesting polarizer on it, because that video looks so pretty. I've gotten some amazing pictures. I need to post them on Instagram. When I was coming through Idaho in the winter, through the passes, so pretty. I think some of those pictures were some of the prettiest I've taken while driving. So yeah, tires, CarPlay system, new infotainment, digital mirrors, digital rearview mirror, 360 camera, new infotainment, and the autopilot system. So that's kind of what I've put in the car. I'm leaving on Monday which is probably previous for you because I probably won't have this uploaded until after I've been gone for a while for security reasons. But I will be driving from here in Minnesota to back to Washington State using, of course, the Comet AI and doing all that. So I will do a little bit of filming during that, just kind of show you what that looks like in practice for a longer road trip. But that'll be a separate video when I get back from Washington in a couple weeks. So we will see what happens there. How much time are we at here? We're at 10 minutes, 12 minutes. So I think we're gonna cut the video there. I didn't want to get into a ton of detail. Yeah, so hope you liked the video. Hope you thought it was interesting. I will see you guys in the next video. Take it easy. Oh well, I'll see you in the next video. Take it easy, fam. Peace.